Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back, of course, to the Time Bomb channel, and we have in for review today another loan watch, which has come from one of our subscribers. So again, perfect evidence of what a bloody nice bunch of people the watch community includes. Not had many TISSOTs on the channel, and let's just unbox this one so we can see what we're talking about and our watch for today. And I have to say that the first thing that crossed my mind when I opened up the box was, Oris Aquis. And then just curious, of course, to note the sort of semi-chocolate box approach to the branding there. So the different TISSOT buildings there in Le Locle. All right, let me just let's pop it out of the box and have a quick look while I'm rambling. So this is then the step up from the SeaStar 1000. It's obviously then been the newer 2000. It refers to those 2,000 feet of watery goodness. Quite clearly more watery goodness and resistance than most of us will really ever need. Huge case body statement. And I'm just going to pause the camera there and then we can kick off with some specs. All right, so just as I was referencing then, and you can easily see in my hands, this is a big boy. Comes in at 46 mils across, which is then a very ample girth of 16.2425 mils in depth, so a very deep dish pizza. And I'm getting around 52 mils north to south on this as well. The lugs then are very understandable, 24 mils. They're quite short lugs though, as you can see. They're a little on the stubby side, so they don't extend too much out. And obviously female end links there as well help just to reduce that end to end. This then on the sized steel bracelet comes in at 212 grams. So yes, indeed, it's a real beast of a watch in hand. There's no confusion about the fact that you're holding a big old timepiece on wrist there. You've also then got a very thick slab of sapphire crystal up top, again, which is all very necessary for those 600 meters worth of watery goodness. On the dial as well, of course, you can see then we've got the quintessential TISSOT T counterbalance on that seconds hand, and you also then, just as you see at the bottom there, quite nice. I like that very small lollipop, just dot as it matches the hour markers almost as it skirts around there. And I think, to me, the length of the seconds hand, just leapt out at me again. I noticed it's just in the exact right place for me. Really marking those second marks, those the minute track as it goes around absolutely perfectly. The hands themselves, then, by contrast, are quite sort of they're very simple shapes, aren't they? And you can see them here, almost quarter past nine. It's just really flat. I'm wondering if they couldn't have done just a fraction more with the hands, with the hand design there. The body of the watch then, obviously we've got the satinized flanks, with the middle section there polished, helium escape valve there. And then on the other side as well, the same sign crown, screw down obviously. And again, as I say, you can see those lugs quite stubby on this. More importantly though than the dial. This is the teal dial. If I can just get off the light, you can see it's got that really delicious wavy pattern. And the colors then, obviously, it darkens out to black towards the edges. And again, talking of being reminded of things, it does remind me a little bit of the Save the Ocean watch dials also. One thing that frustrates me a little bit about the dial though is why they felt the need to include so much script just at the bottom here. A simple SeaStar at the bottom there would have been enough. Okay, why they feel the necessity to advertise their movements on this? I just think it's a little bit redundant. It would have just allowed even more space for us to see that dial, and that's where the watch wins. The lume on here is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is a Super Luminova. It looks like this. It's adequate, but that's all I would say. I'm a little bit let down because of the the overall specs of this watch, you know, it's overdone. You know, everything's on steroids. It's you know, it's max this, max that. And I think they really could have done a lot more with the lume, because here it is next to the Kuriburi, you know, which costs a third of the price. And yeah, enough said. Talking of, you know, overspecking the watch, we've got rhodium markers on the hour markers, which is a very, very pricey metal to add on to the watch here. And as you can see, they really do stand up very proudly off that dial, as does that minute track. Again, very, very nice design decisions just to add the additional layers of depth to the watch. I believe as well that the date window there is also rhodium, and it's a very heavy edge to that date window. But as you can see, as just looking at the watch here, I mean, that is a very, very clear and very legible date window. Get the top marks there. It's so clear from every angle and every distance. It really does come through very, very cleanly indeed. The bezel again, obviously, is polished and ceramic. I do like the font and the engravings on the bezel. I think they're really, really nice. Got a great feel to them. You know, very, very well finished, and I think they look fantastic. Just a simple lume pip up the top here. But again, as you just flash back to the lume shot, none of the gradings on the bezel are lumed. I mean, not even one of them. I think, you know, it might have been nice to have a couple of sections here or something, but again, I find that a little bit surprising. The bezel action, of course, sounds like this. I mean, it's a big, big, big chunky bezel. I have to say, I've used bezels on watches that are considerably cheaper than this one, and they sound a lot better and they move a lot better. It doesn't require that much movement. I would, again, on something that, you know, 600 meters worth of resistance, I kind of would have hoped, you know, for something just a little bit firmer. But as I say, the flutings on the side as it scallops down there, I think, yeah, there's some aspects of which are really, really well done, and others perhaps which don't satisfy all of us. Let's pop round to the side then. Obviously, our signed buckle on the back there, again revealing another sapphire on the back here. I'll pop up some close-up shots here. Kind of an odd choice to include that see-through case back here, because again, this is a spec tool monster. Well, it certainly purports to be a spec tool monster, you know, and adding that crystal in, I'm just wondering if it was really necessary, because as you can see here, it adds, I don't know, another 3 to 4 mils of depth on the back. And again, is it really necessary for us to see that movement? It's not the most beautiful movement, you know, in the watch world. And if you remove that and make the case back flusher, it would then just smooth out the bottom of the case body, and the lugs, they want to keep them stubby so it doesn't become too long for most wrists. And again, so when that sits up on wrist, because those lugs are so short and stubby, and because you've got that swollen bottom, it does sit quite wobbly, and there's a lot of top wobble on this. And as I say, especially with that, with the weight of the watch and the head, because of the watery depthness, the watery goodness that they've gone for with this, yeah, I think is again it's just a fraction redundant. They just really don't need it. Of course, that movement inside, sorry, just before I continue rambling, just give you another shot of it there. The movement then is the Powermatic 80. It seems to attract a lot of attention on the watch blogs. Positive feedback and a lot of negative feedback. It does, of course, feature the Nivacron hairspring, which then adds further to the specs of the watch. You know, more anti-magnetic, more shock resistant, etc. But as I say, all the comments that I can find, you know, it's quite a divisive movement. I've not had long-term experience with it myself, so any feedback from yourselves with regards to accuracy and you know, that does it really last you the full 80 hours on full charge would be really great to hear. Obviously, then the watch is then, as I say, a spec monster. It's ISO 6425 compliant, and watches do, you know, have to go through quite a beating in order to achieve that compliance. And I personally like the drop test within that 6425. because as most people working on dive boats are going to know, at some point in the day, you're going to drop your watch while you're changing your kit or something. You know, the boat rocks, etc. And I think that's a key spec to the watch. Again, making it very, very necessary. It does, though, however, appear to me a little bit to be too much of a pretty watch to be seeing on dive boats. I mean, it really is a very, very, it's eye candy. It's very, very pretty indeed. Admittedly, it was a few years ago that I was working on dive boats, and most people wore Digi watches or Seikos or Citizens, and the rich dudes were all wearing Rolexes. So yeah, I'd probably need to get on another boat sooner just to see what's going on there. I didn't talk about the clasp, but as you see, nice brush finish to it again there, which will help hide those dings. Again, perfectly functioning clasp and releases there. Again, as I say, excuse me, the prettiness of this, with that polished sections here. Again, it's kind of, yeah, I would have gone for something a little bit more beastly myself if I'd been in the dive team. As I say before, the watch on wrist, let me just throw it on wrist while we're talking. So I'm rocking another beast today, is the GWG. Let's just pause there, remove that, and throw this one on wrist. It has been sized up for the owner. His wrists are 7.5 inch thick, mine is 7.25. So yeah, there's an element of space in here. But as you can see, the watch does sit up very high. And as I say, specifically because of that bubble underneath, where they've insisted on adding that see-through case back, I think it just doesn't need it. But anyway, out in the sunshine, I mean, it just absolutely beautiful. As you can see here, it catches it almost like an electric flash of light off the dial when you catch it in the right light. It darkens out in other moments, as I say, but I mean, yeah, you can't stop looking at it. It really, really, really is that pretty, that dial. And the wavy details on there, again, just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Early Sea Stars, of course, then, were radically different. What was it, 50s, 60s when they brought the first Sea Stars out. But clearly Tissot now having very, very clear ideas about where they want to take the 1000, 2000 range. For the price, I think you're getting a box ticking exercise here that via other brands is going to cost you double or triple. But again, that prompts the question: would you pick this over a Longines Hydro or a Citizen Grand Touring or a Seiko Recreation? Let us know your thoughts down below. But going to the current owner, let's take some observations from him. So his first foray into Tissot was the Tissot Gentleman here. I'm going to be reviewing that in the next couple of weeks as well. He had wanted a blue dialer of this one, but he got a very good deal from his AD on the green, and he's so happy with that one that he then took the plunge with this one. He kind of thinks that it's a little bit like an Omega Planet Ocean Specs on a low budget. The teal is not a color either that he's owned before. And he feels that the design of the design choices of the small hour markers and those sort of almost minimalistic hands help to reduce the clutter on the dial to free up that wave pattern. As I said previously, I would have gone a step further and removed a lot of that script as well, just to free it up, even further, because yeah, that's exactly where you want to be looking on this watch. He shares that whilst a fan of big watches, this one is very, very big for him, and he doesn't find it that comfortable on wrist as a consequence, probably due to the top wobble that's created, as I say, because of the weight of that head. 212 grams, at least 60% of that's got to be in the head here. And as I say, if they just flush that out, it would sit a lot better on wrist, I think. He feels, though, that he can certainly forgive it its quirkiness, but perhaps he feels that the price is a little bit high for something so quixotic. I have to say that I really like his observations, because it shows that his expectations of the watch are realistic. I think sometimes we demand too much of watches, which leads us to selling a lot of them on. There's got to be that zen spot somewhere where we're happy with what we have. I think I'm certainly in need of that zen spot, because I tend to be like a kid in a candy shop. So there we go, guys. The Pro 2000, very impressive spec list to this watch. That, you know, it's a very impressive piece, and you put it on your wrist and it's just like bum. I recognise though that it is going to be a little bit Marmite for many of us. For me, it's just a little bit too pretty to be chucking around on a dive boat. But that, again, that's as always, that's just my view. Over to you guys. Please do drop us a comment down below on your thoughts of these, specifically if you've owned one or owning one and you've got some additional feedback. But anyway, that's a wrap for today. Thanks as always for your time and your view. And of course, until the next vid, this is your host, the Bombardier, signing off. Cheers, guys.